guys, it's Dave. Today I want to work... What am I doing? Today I want to work through some Hoya repot and kind of talk about when I think it's time to do it, even with a plant that looks fantastic. Some of you will have seen my Rebecca and Obscura video from some time back. Those are two plants that looked really, really good that I repotted. I'm going to do brief updates on those. But there were kind of coeval events that led me to this video. There was a period of time where there was road construction outside my house. I did a repot and got very surprising results. Or I think people newer to Hoya will be quite surprised by the results and how I approached that particular plant. I also have something kind of fun I want to share with you, get your feedback on. It's just for laughs, basically. But stick around. I think this is going to be a chill, easygoing one. Grab some supplies of your own. Let's do this together. This beautiful plant is my Hoya mendorensis. I did a video on this that was early in my YouTube career. Been here 4 months. But it was one of my early videos, and it was in full bloom, and it had a very vibrant red bloom on it. This is an inappropriate substrate, and I will get to that. And I dropped the ball. It has a peduncle here that blasted because I really let it get underwatered. And what disappoints me about that is not that I lost the opportunity for an incredible flower, but that it was bright yellow on the same plant. And so it was a missed opportunity to show how on one plant you can have very different colored flowers, and why color of the flower is not a way to identify a plant. But I blew it. You'll have to take my word for it that it was going to be big, bright, beautiful yellow. But what happened is that many of you will know that my substrate of choice is down to very, very few ingredients, and my plants have been growing much better in that mix than when I was doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, I don't know how many ingredients, too many. But I had run out of, no, I had not run out of. I had had bad luck with cocoa chips, and I was getting nothing but fiber, and so I went back to bark, and I was making this extraordinarily chunky mix. Bark does not hold on to moisture like cocoa chips do. I was also throwing in a bunch of leca, a bunch of charcoal, and at any rate, it's not a mix that I like, and it's way too chunky, doesn't hold on to moisture well, the plants don't grow in it nearly as well. And so I want to get these several plants back into, now that we've got chips that I like, and linked in my Amazon. I've got my favorite tool in the house. Somebody sent me a message when I was using this one time and said, I hope at least that's a horticultural knife. I didn't know if they were being funny or not, so I didn't answer, but no, this is right out of the drawer. If my dishwasher can't handle washing off a little cocoa choir, maybe I have bigger problems. But not to make light of the question, I'm sorry if you're watching. So I'm going to try to do this, just lift this all out and replace the substrate. This is a fantastic plant, and I highly recommend, if you have any interest in this plant at all, and you should. I love this plant so much. Check that video out. It's not very long, I don't think. But let me see what we can do here. Let me kind of put this where you can see it a little bit. So yeah, that's just a real, actually this is just, don't fall away from the trellis, I need you on there. So, I'm just gonna break away a lot of this stuff here. What else is in here? Oh, I guess this is just, there's some lava rock in here. I don't know. It's not what I would do today. So, what I would do today is this. Get rid of all that. I'm going to keep the same little pot here. This is just under 5 inches. the Italian pots I've talked a lot about that you can get from Lowe's. It's a really nice size because it doesn't have the really narrow flower pot, words, shape to it, so it holds quite a lot of substrate. That's probably the only thing that saved this from dry rot. Oh, by the way, that's the point of this video, is that I get very concerned when a plant dries out so quickly that if I were to forget about it for a little while, it would suffer dry rot, which is not good. And I've done it too many times. So let's see. Now, if you're new to the channel, I am not averse to making messes. There are more efficient or more effective ways that I'm sure your favorite plant tubers use. This is how I do it. That's how I like to do it. I like to make big splashy messes. Now, I am not, this is, this is an established plant. I should have shown you the root system. I apologize. I'm not going to pull it back out. Mendorensis have, even by Hoya standards, pretty fine root systems. Not quite like the next one I'm going to show you, that kind of update of a plant you haven't seen. This is a tricky plant for some people because it's a balance between never letting it completely dry out but not keeping it too moist, or else you will rot the roots. Again, I'm sorry I didn't show them to you. The roots looked really, really good, so I'm very happy with that, obviously. I get really good questions, and it would be smart if I wrote them down more often. But somebody asked me something to the effect of, do I soak this entire pot when I put in a brand new mix? That is a great question, Pax. I appreciate it. What I do is I have already rinsed the cocoa coir, the cocoa chips. I will flood this until the water is running clear, because it will still come out a little bit brown, even though I've rinsed the heck out of it. And then I will keep a close eye on it this week. So today's Tuesday, because it's been my experience that the first couple of times you water this through, it dries out very quickly, and then it settles into my normal mix that this will end up being most likely a once a week watering situation in the room it's in, with the amount of light and heat it's getting. Potentially, we've had pretty cool weather. If it really heats up, it could be twice a week. But anyway, that's my routine. Water it through well. Then I water it through with my fertilizer water last, because I don't want to waste it, and keep an eye on it. I'll keep this update brief because I have given a Rebecca update. Still hanging on to those little bit of yellow leaves up there, and they are firm, so I'm not going to take them off. If they were dying or something, I would definitely take them off. But oh my God, she looks absolutely fantastic, and obviously too tall to get all of her beauty in, but oh my gosh. Let me step aside. I don't want her to compete with all of this. She should get the spotlight. Look at that. A reminder, or I'll just tell you if you have not had a Rebecca update or didn't see that video, I bought her last year, so I would say a year and a half ago. It was just one strand that I kind of potted up into maybe a 3-inch pot, and then very quickly into a 4-inch pot. And no chopping and propping. That all is like self-pollinating almost. I know that's not the word, but it has grown vine after vine after vine on its own, just as I think, no one's ever corrected me, as the weight of those vines drag the plant down, it will shoot out another vine. So it has filled that pot all by itself. And it was in a terrible mix also, where it was almost pure cocoa coir at the bottom part of the pot, and it was just hard as a rock. Those really fine roots. It's been my experience with most Hoya is they won't find their way through it. You know, this is not a Monstera. So or an anthurium or something like that. They'll just kind of ball up and stay there, and you'll just notice that the plant is not growing, which is going to lead me into the next plant I want to talk about. I'm going to guess that this is the one I'm going to use for the thumbnail. I don't see it talked about often. This is Hoya aldrichii, and this was found off Christmas Island in the 1800s and named after the captain of that voyage. It is really kind of unknown and underrated, and I saw on Facebook that somebody in Hoya Obsession mentioned that some guy had a really beautiful one in his YouTube channel, and I thought, I mean, that has to be me, right? No, that is how I think, for better or worse. But it's such a fine example, and this was seed grown. So when I bought it as a seedling, I can tell you it was ugly, as are all seedlings that I buy. They're not attractive plants. But boy, has it grown up to be a beauty. Now, because I love this plant, because it does well in cool weather, in like Iowa winter by a window and stuff, I have given it premium everything in the living room, and it's been doing really well. And then it really just sort of stopped growing. And it's thirsty all the time. And if you have a Hoya that's thirsty all the time, even though I keep up on watering, meaning regularly, but not giving the plant what it needs, it's not going to give you this beautiful growth that it has been giving me. I do not wait until a plant starts declining. I often don't wait before a plant starts declining before I address the issue. This is not real life where I just ignore problems until there's no choice. This is plant life. I try to stay on top of it. So let me get my horticultural butter knife out here. There goes my sarcasm. I can't dial it back. I just can't. Let's get the aldrichii out of here. This must have been in like one of those first 1, 2, 3, 4 videos I did, rare Hoya videos, because it is certainly one of my favorite plants. You know, it's quite amazing how long Hoya leaves will last if they're happy. I mean, these are the oldest leaves on this plant, and I don't know that I've ever, once it was grown up from a seedling, lost any leaves so far. So what I have just done, I've made sure that something horrible is going to happen to one of my favorite plants in probably the very near future, probably right after this repot. I don't recommend that anybody grow plants like I do, because you might not like it. I know people worry about roots getting stuck to the side of the terracotta, like that would be a big deal. I trim roots all the time. I cut off huge masses of chunks sometimes, so having a few roots stick to the terracotta, it's never been a problem for me, and it's how I grow Hoya. So to each their own. The only thing that really bothers me is when people declare a correct or incorrect way to do things. I'm glad I just cleared off all of that so that I can do this. Do you have any idea what my wife puts up with? Do you see this? This is her daily life. Looks really good. Dry. And I watered it, what's day 2? I watered it Sunday, and it's just so dry. So, another example of this plant looks, in my immodest opinion, absolutely fantastic. I just noticed that slowdown in growth, and that told me at this time of year, that shouldn't be happening. These are long days. It's under a grow light. It's humid, the weather's been perfect, etc. and so forth. It's in a south window. So it's got everything going for it. And it's just, it's just like all of this stuff that doesn't really hold on to moisture. So I'm not even sure. No, I do know. I bought a big bag of leca because it was on sale, and I thought just to bulk up some plants, I thought I would try it. I would never use leca properly because my house gets so cold in the winter. I would hate to have roots sitting, well, it would just kill the plants in that living room. I rely on wood heat a lot, so it spends time down to 58 and well below that in the winter. Another really good question, you know, when I was banging a pot around and talking about air pockets, and someone asked if that would be a problem since they're epiphytic for the most part. The next one I'm going to show you is not, but no, it's not a problem. You won't injure the plant, but especially something this chunky, but you can collapse the sides as you water it, and then you've got, you know, massive holes and not as much substrate as you thought you had. There's the answer. Packs. Thanks again for that great question. I saw something on Facebook that I really wanted to respond to, but I'm now occasionally being noticed. People know who I am or recommend videos or comment on me, even though I don't use Sober Plant Guy on Facebook. They know who I am. I use the same avatar or profile pic. I mean, but this guy was being such an ass to this woman who was new to the hobby, asking a really basic and legitimate question, and when she objected to his tone, he told her to calm down and went on this really demeaning and derogatory explanation, and he was dead wrong. He did not even understand the term that he was deriding her question about. And oh my God, I wanted to respond in kind, but I feel like now I can't do that because that is not the vibe of my channel, and I never wanted to be, other than me commenting on things like this. But I really feel like people are new to the hobby and they're so excited, like we all are. I'm still excited. I'm as excited, more excited than when I started, because I have so many nice big plants. But if you can't be nice about a question that gets asked all the time, just don't say anything. In fact, it'd be my preference, just get off. Get off the platform. We don't need you on there. Sermon over. So when you see me on those Facebook groups, you won't see me speaking my mind anymore. I used to a little bit, but I'll try to refrain. And, oh, by the way, I've mentioned this a bunch of times, but you know, I fill these up really full because this mix is so chunky, the water just goes right through it. So I don't worry about that, and it can settle down a little bit. And then when I do future videos, when I lean it, I can knock stuff on the ground and my wife can step on it. Just another day. All right, I'll be right back. I want to grab that plant that I repotted during road construction. It's kind of fun. This plant is as common as the dirt it is grown in, even though it's not grown in dirt, but this is the Multiflora, nicknamed Shooting Star. And I've had this for quite a while, actually, and it just never, well, it came with, I got it from California, and it came with completely rotted roots. I mean, the substrate was basically like pure cocoa, sopping wet. I knew as soon as I unboxed it that the roots were going to be ruined. It is a plant that wants to stay moist. This is, for people who don't know, by the way, this is a terrestrial grower, so a shrub. It grows right in the ground, does not climb, does not grow in trees. I've got an excessive amount of bamboo here to overcompensate for lack of plant size, I guess. Yeah, but it was flowering after I got it rooted, and it always looked good. no yellow leaves, but no growth. I mean, it just really didn't. And I was at a friend's house who had just this beautiful big one. And, you know, I was like, man, that looks good. Because I was sort of like, I don't really care if it stays small. I have so many Hoya getting big, or that are big. But then I saw hers. I was like, man, oh man, I need to see what's going on with mine. It was in that same way too chunky substrate. And as a plant that really wants to stay moist, I mean literally stay moist, unlike almost every other plant I have. There's some exceptions, but I was watering it all the time, but it wasn't holding the moisture that those roots wanted to be sort of soaking in. Does that make sense? You know, it wanted to be kind of cushioned in that moisture. So I unpotted it. Again, no credit at all on YouTube for doing that, just out of the goodness of my heart to help this plant. I'm a good person. I dumped the pot, and the roots look good, but this plant, and again, if you don't know, the multiflora has a very small root system. I don't know how it supports itself in the wild, but the root ball was about this big. And it's not because there was like packed cocoa coir, it was just that big. Now, conventional wisdom, you know, how I would have done this early in my Hoya career, I would have downsized the pot dramatically and repotted it. I did not do that. I used the exact same pot it was in, and I put in the mix that I use all the time. So the cocoa coir, cocoa chips, #3 perlite, or it's called super coarse. And so quickly it said, thank you, Dave, and started growing all of this beautiful new growth. And so sometimes that's all it takes to spur Hoya into growth that have just been seemingly dormant. Again, it was blooming regularly. But a change into something that it likes better. I've had plenty of Hoya that have had a vine that, even with good support, even with good humidity, which can really make all the difference, I've just clipped the vine just to send the message to the plant, hey, you need to spark up your growth. And that is unbelievably effective. But anyway, I wanted to show that to you, you know, going against the grain, going against conventional wisdom. What a great little plant. I highly recommend. They're inexpensive, they're easy to grow. Just don't forget to water it. I don't know if I should do Natalie next. I think it'll be more of the same for you because it's the exact same situation of basically being in a mix that's inappropriate, and it's in kind of a small pot now that she's really growing. I want to repot two that are not going to be as easy. Well, one will be relatively easy. I've just been putting it off. One will be difficult. My Matilda could use an upgrade, but it is so cascaded over the top that it's going to be significantly more difficult to get the substrate in. Maybe I will leave that one and put the question to you. If you have a good suggestion of how to get substrate in and around Matilda without breaking any of the vines or the top of the plant, that would be great. I'm going to do that. Let me grab the Bella, and then I want to share some funny statistics with you. Do y'all have that plant that you're just insanely proud of, even though, for me in this case, there are people with Bellas that are just magnificent and huge. And so, you know, obviously this would not be impressive on those terms, but I bought this as just a little, it was like maybe 4 or 5 inch strand. I can't believe it is still alive. I think I should do a video of it lived. I have a few that I just look at and I can't believe that they've done well. This is another plant that, did I ever propagate more than one in here? Maybe I did, I can't remember. It struggled and it struggled and it struggled. And I never thought, I really thought it was just going to go the way of about half a dozen plants that I just composted, where you just try and try and try and try, and at some point it just, at least I'm just like, that's it. I've given you everything I have. I've given you all the space I can. We're done. This was that plant, and it is doing so well, but it's in this little container, 3-inch container. It's in a very coarse mix. It is thirsty almost every single day. So let's get the old butter knife out. What I'm going to do is, this is not one that wants to be dry either, so this is not ideal, but she's been doing great, really has been doing great. And it's nice to have another cool weather plant like her, not the hothouse flowers I've got upstairs in the tent. This is such a great plant. I think even the really good ones don't come off on camera like they do in person. And let me just break off the vines. There we go. Having grown this now, I completely get it, and I just think it is an absolutely wonderful plant. It cost me so little, other than patience and indecision and a lot of second guessing my skill, such as it is. I'm not saying I'm any Miro or some of the popular Hoya growers. Boy, Fern put on a good video of her 68 Hoya that she had to refilm because of audio problems. Boy, she has got Hoya figured out. Beautiful plants, beautiful plants. Okay, so I'm just going to keep these. They want to fall, so these are individual vines. So I obviously, without having any memory of doing it, I obviously propagated this plant. I don't want to alienate any of the few men I have on this channel, but I'm going to put up some statistics for you. If you saw my tray leaf review of the trellises, I mentioned that I had approximately 2 male subscribers. Take a look at these statistics I'm putting up there. Almost 100% of my watch hours are from women. And thank you, first of all, thank you. But how do, am I alienating men from the channel? I mean, if I had to choose to have the vast majority of my viewers be one or the other, I'd choose women, of course, but that's a lot of viewership that I'm giving up if I can't convince a few men to watch this, a few more men. Now, my ideas this weekend were I could start backing into parking spots, maybe baseball caps with upside down sunglasses, maybe that would put off a vibe. I looked for some camo t-shirts when we were thrift shopping Saturday. I live in Iowa. I couldn't find any camo. I couldn't find any NASCAR, and I thought I'll settle for like a Metallica t-shirt. Nothing, absolutely nothing. So I don't have that to wear. I'm wearing this hyper masculine shirt today. So if you have some suggestions of how I can attract some male viewers, you let me know in the comments. Was demonstrating to my wife how maybe I should start my videos like doing some, and she looked me dead in the eye without cracking a smile and said, before you start doing that on camera, you might want to hit the gym first. My wife. Anyone wonder why I used to drink? Let's water in this great plant. I have given up how I'm going to hang this, but that's a problem for after the video is over. Quick update. Hoya obscura. Ooh, baby. What a plant. In the video that I did this in Rebecca, I said this was kind of my clear winner, and that Rebecca has come on. Oh my God, this is heavy. I just watered it. That Rebecca has really come on, but you tell me. I mean, whew, This is gorgeous. Now, this one has the advantage of having a lot of blooms on it. Let's find one or two. There she is right there. Some more here. More here, more peduncles coming on. And it is, I don't know, maybe 2 or 2:30. Smelling lightly sweet, not like it would at night. I upgraded the Obscura, I'm serious, it is so heavy, from a 4-inch pot in a really light mix into a 6-inch basalt pot. So a gray version of the one I just put the Bella in. I was out of the cocoa chip, just like every plant tuber, I should say. I run out of the best stuff that I use, and so I use bark. Probably okay for this plant because it wants to go almost completely dry. If you get one of these, and you should have one of these, I mean, come on, do not overwater this plant. That will be a one-way ticket to root rot, no question about that. But a 6-inch pot looked huge, especially the particular one I'm using. And as I said in that video, most people would not recommend you up pot that much. I don't care. I don't worry about any of that. That hole, it's gonna slow down the growth. It's gonna stop the flowering. All that, bull crap that gets repeated so often is true on a few plants. But this genus is not a monolith. So I just try to use some common sense. A plant that grows this aggressively is not just going to throw the brakes on because you put it in a larger pot. It just is not. In my care, under my conditions, probably not for anybody. Why do y'all put up with me? I'm just so opinionated. I'm just dripping all over my hand here. Just watered this one too. I think what I'll do is leave you today with an update on this plant. I have an incrusata to repot, a Russell, the Natalie, what Steve's Leaves calls a greenform AH074. Greenform is just, I think, a polite way to say a reverted AH074. An incredibly aggressive, like fast-growing plant. Holy Moses. Y'all know how much I love a green plant. It's got some silver speckling. So I'm all in on that. But I want to give the most exciting update I've got for the year. This is my Hoya Sunrise. And you may have seen a couple of videos with her in it. There was one where I repotted her. Very, very long vines. She was quite beautifully sun-stressed, but dehydrated and not getting hydrated with my waterings. Once I got into the pot, the roots were unsalvageable. So I cut it up into just, I have no idea how many cuttings. It was a bunch, that's for sure. And I put them in perlite and water, just put water all the way up to the rim. They were in the tent for that warmth and humidity because it was still quite cool here in Iowa when I did that. They rooted nicely. I made some nice pots. I've given quite a few away, little bits of them. I've sold some. Recently sold just an absolutely gorgeous 4-inch pot. The kind of pot that it almost hurt to sell. It was so beautiful, even though I have this one. This is a must-have. For me, it's a must-have. I was at a big Hoya sale and a customer asked me, if you could only have one Hoya, and I immediately said, oh, the Sunrise. And then my friend, who's got over 500 unique varieties, said, what, really? Yeah, really. It's fast growing. It's easy to take care of once it gets going. And this is a mature plant. The plant was blooming the whole time that it was rooting. It was growing new vines, it was rooting, and it was putting off flowers all at the same time. Back from the brink of, well, certain death if I had let it go. But of course I wasn't going to let it go too much further. But yeah, I mean, how could this not be my first choice? It was one of my first Hoyas. It was the first one that grew really, really large, flowered for me, is giving me no trouble except for the trouble that I gave it. I don't think anything this summer brings me more joy in terms of updates than this plant. Probably nothing more this summer has given me more joy than a plant swap I did with a fellow Iowan and friend, and that's in an upcoming video that, let me assure you, you do not want to miss. Once in a lifetime swap. I'll see you in that one real soon, okay? Bye-bye.